While the Luftwaffe hammered the beaches of Dunkirk, 5 men met in a basement in London to debate the end of the British Empire. It was May 28, 1940. Behind closed doors, this small committee was deciding whether to continue the war or surrender to Adolf Hitler. Welcome to the channel. We take complex geopolitical events and break them down into simple 5-minute explainers. The path to this room began weeks earlier with a military collapse in Norway. The campaign's failure destroyed public confidence in the government and forced Neville Chamberlain to resign. Winston Churchill took over as Prime Minister on May 10th, the same morning the German army launched its invasion of Western Europe. As this map shows, the German thrust through the Ardennes forest bypassed static defenses and reached the coast in just 2 weeks. This maneuver trapped the British Expeditionary Force in a shrinking pocket at Dunkirk. Britain faced the total annihilation of its professional army. With the French front collapsing, the cabinet was forced to weigh a choice previously considered unthinkable. Churchill was a new prime minister without a secure mandate. To keep his government together, he relied heavily on his foreign secretary and chief political rival, Lord Halifax. Lord Halifax was a heavyweight of the Conservative Party. He viewed the military situation through a lens of cold, aristocratic pragmatism. Halifax proposed using the still neutral Italian dictator, Benito Mussolini, as a mediator. The plan was to have Mussolini broker a peace deal between London and Berlin before the British army was destroyed. Halifax argued that Britain still possessed a powerful navy and air force. Negotiating while those assets were intact would secure better survival terms than waiting until after a successful German invasion. Churchill refused to consider it. He believed a conversation with Hitler would shatter British morale and create a German puppet state. The cabinet remained deadlocked for 3 days of intense debate. The crisis peaked when Halifax essentially threatened to resign, a move that would have likely toppled Churchill's government. A resignation from Halifax would signal a terminal split in British leadership, leaving the country without a functioning executive at its greatest military peril. From a strictly tactical standpoint, Halifax's logic was sound. An early peace could have preserved the British Empire's infrastructure and saved millions of lives. But the map reveals the cost. Without Britain, Hitler controls Western Europe, with no democratic power to challenge him. The Atlantic becomes an impassable barrier, isolating America from the war. This frees the German military to shift its full weight east against the Soviet Union. Halifax was trying to save Britain from a localized disaster. Churchill realized that the cost of that safety was the surrender of the entire international order to Nazi control. On May 28th, Churchill broke the stalemate. He bypassed the small war cabinet and summoned the 25 members of the outer cabinet to a sudden meeting. He delivered a short, blunt speech to these ministers, declaring his intent to fight on. He told them that if Britain's history was to end, it should only happen after they had fought until they choked on their own blood. The ministers responded with an overwhelming show of support, shouting and cheering their approval. Churchill took this unified support back to the small room where Halifax was waiting. By demonstrating he had the backing of the wider government, he effectively isolated the foreign secretary. The final move came from Neville Chamberlain. As the man who still controlled the Conservative majority in Parliament, his decision to cast his weight behind Churchill ended the debate. Halifax was left without allies in the room. He withdrew his threat to resign, and the proposal to seek peace via Mussolini was abandoned. Winning this argument meant the evacuation at Dunkirk could proceed, preserving the core of the British army. Churchill's victory in that basement ensured that Britain would remain a combatant for the rest of the war. If you found this historical breakdown helpful, please subscribe to the channel. For more 5-minute geopolitical explainers, click the recommendations on your